Hello, everyone. Today, this is none other than Dr. Bruce A. Smith in the studio of BBS Productions here in the heart of West Memphis, Arkansas. We're here for another broadcast on what are we going to talk about today? Oh, taking off the mask part two. We have as our guest tonight none other than Phyllis Knight from Mansfield, Texas, and Robert Mileage from West Memphis, Arkansas is going to be in the studio tonight. We are expecting a good discussion, and we're going to turn this thing over to Miss Knight, as she's going to do the recap on last week and get us started for this week. So, are you ready? We hope that you are ready in the studio tonight, Miss Knight. How are you?
I'm great. How are you today? How are you, Robert?
Doing good,
Oh,
doing
I'm doing
good.
fine. How about you guys?
We're doing
Straighten up your
good, doing
glasses and you'll
good.
be doing fine.
I gotta get
Well,
some
we're
new
just gonna
glasses.
recap on
Yeah, there you go.
taking a mask.
I can't say like this all night. Go
Well,
ahead,
we're
Phyllis. I'm sorry.
recapping on taking a mask off of domestic
Yeah,
violence, and there
right.
are 23 signs that you're in an abusive relationship. And last week
Hmm.
we touched on the first 16. Now I'm just gonna
Right.
briefly run through them, and then we're gonna start on number 17 this week because
Hmm.
we did get through 16 of those signs last week. So I'm just going to recap. Number one is he jumps into the relationship quickly. Two, he badmouths his exes. Number three, he doesn't respect your opinions. Number four, his happiness depends on you. Number five, things are never his fault. Number six, he thinks men are better than women. Number seven, he limits your phone usage. Number eight, abuse is in his past, even if it didn't happen to him. Number nine, he has low self esteem. 10, he is unkind to animals and children. 11, he puts you down. 12, he doesn't like when you spend time with family or friends. That's how they isolate you. Number 13, he is easily jealous. 14, his feelings get hurt easily and frequently. Number
Wow.
15, he previously hurt a partner. Number 16 is where we left off at last week. He threatens you to control you. And this week we're going to begin with number 17, and that is you are threatened of him when he is angry. When his anger should not be intimidating. If he
Right.
shouts at you, punches walls, throws things, ruin your possessions to prove a point, or get so close it frightens you, you're with an abuser. And I'm gonna go ahead with number 18, and then we can kind of, talk on some of those points, and then we can continue. Number 18, he is controlling. He interrogates you intensely about who you talked to and where you were, checks the mileage of your car, keeps the money, or asks for receipts when you purchase things,
What?
insists you ask for permission to go
Mm,
anywhere or do anything. So, we can kind of recap on some of those things from last week and discuss the new two signs that I introduced this week. That he frightens you, that you are frightened of him when he is angry. A lot of
right.
times, when you're in an abusive relationship, when a person gets angry, you're frightened because you're scared that he's gonna, like we said, tear up some of your stuff or punch
Right.
walls or throw shoes at you or whatever.
Hmm.
So um, you with an abuser when he gets so angry, like I
Right.
said, that they just put punch holes in the wall.
Right.
So that's a sign of that you're in an abusive relationship.
Yeah. So it sounds like person gets out of control. Um, that and that's a definite sign. A person get out of control. You got to be careful. And that doesn't matter whether it's a man or a woman, because you can get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, you can get hurt. It ain't
Right.
like it used to be. People, it seems like we have less tolerance for things now, and uh, we see so much violence. It's easy to do violence. So uh,
Mm-hmm.
somebody that's in that type of relationship, in that situation, needs to seek help. Uh, Seek it as quick as you can, because you never know what the outcome could be. It could turn bad very quick. So
Right.
uh, it's something that we don't just want to take for granted. Oh, he loves me. No, no, they ain't gonna do you like that if they love you. That's false love. If that's what you think love is, we need to do a reevaluation. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Exactly. So what do you think, Robert?
Wow. I mean, that's you know, it's a hard thing to wrap your mind around anyone that would devalue another person like that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I never want to be in a relationship where you, you you feel like you got to have dominion over the one that you say you love. Well, that ain't what God gave us. God gave man dominion over the in Genesis the things of the earth, not another person. And it's pretty sad. Let me say this: one of the most dangerous things, and I've said it in my past too, is a guy can say to a woman is, let me bring you into my world. And you need to assess what his world is. And sometimes you don't find that out until you in that relationship that it's not a good world. And I think that's a small world to be in when you say I want you in my world and you isolate someone from family members and the thing that you all have just mentioned. And my prayer is that we can say something that will bring hope to those that are in that relationship. Back to you, Miss Phyllis.
Yeah. Well, I know, when you feel so controlled, I mean, when you can't talk on the phone or see your family or somebody's, um, checking the mileage on your car, you feel like a child, like I'm a grown woman, I should be able to go to the store if I want to, go see my friends or my family if I want to. If you're in a relationship with somebody and they checking the mileage on your car and you got to ask for permission. A grown woman shouldn't have to ask for permission to go anywhere. I mean, out of respect in a marriage or a relationship, you tell your partner, that you're going somewhere, because if you've gone too long, of course you want them to be concerned, that something could or not could or could not happen to you, but not to the point where you feel, like a child, that I gotta ask, can I go somewhere? You know what I'm saying? So that's having too much control over a person. And, you know, like when a person is isolated from their family and their friends, you know, you can't spend time with your family, but he wants you to be around his family. You know, oftentimes you're in abusive, abusive relationships. So, you know, sometimes we don't even see those as a sign that you would an abusive person, you know. But like I said, abuse is not just a man. You know, women can be abusive also. You know, we don't really think about how some men are in an abusive relationship with women. You know, so you know they like to manipulate you.
Yeah, and it's something that we need to understand. Abuse is not just physical; it's verbal. Um, Verbal abuse
Emotional.
is just as, yeah, it's just as bad as physical abuse. It can cause just as much damage, and it's a good thing to check your situation and come to a realization what is actually going on in the relationship, because it's important to have a healthy relationship and not a relationship that where you feel like you're going to be threatened at any point or any time. So it's
Hmm.
good for us to recognize and to realize that we we need to have a healthy relationship. When you look at especially during this times, this pandemic and all this stuff going on, so many of us spend so much time at home, and a lot of people get in the house and they don't get to get out, and they get frustrated, upset, feel like they're caged in, and so we get mad and upset, and that could be uh, not only could that be the parents, but that could even be a kid who gets so frustrated they locked in, uh, and can't go out, can't be around their friends, can't hang out, can't go to the club. There's just so many things you got to look at, and we got to look at what is the important part, and what is important, what is healthy for a relationship.
Right, right, right. Well, I'm gonna read a couple more signs so we can get through our 23 this week. I'm sorry, verse. I think I'm reading scripture. Number
What verse, Will?
verse 19.
Verse 19.
Number 19 is he uses force during sex. He enjoys throwing you or holding you down against your will. He finds the idea of rape exciting. Not only in fantasy, he intimidates, manipulates, or forces you to engage in unwanted sex acts. Number 20, he subjects you to verbal abuse. He constantly criticizes you or says cruel things. He degrades you, curses and calls you ugly names. He uses vulnerable points about your past or current life against you. Number
Wow.
21, threats of violence. Any threats of physical force means uh, meant to control you. Number 22, alcohol or drug abuse. Not a cause of domestic violence, but makes it worse or more dangerous. And the last sign is any force during an argument. An
Right.
abuser holding down his partner, physically restraining a partner from leaving or pushing or shoving, holding
Hmm.
someone back by saying, "You will listen to me." Strangling is a sign. If they strangle you, is a significant red flag for lethal violence. You know, a lot of times when you get in a argument, you know, sometimes with a person, and then you trying to leave, and they're, you know, standing at the door, and they won't let you out, and they like, no, you're not
Right.
going nowhere. You know, that's a abusive person, and it's really a dangerous situation because you don't know what they're gonna do. You know,
Right.
like it said, you know, you they can strangle you. Sometimes pick up knives, you know, and throw knives at you. Or, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? You know, trying to force you to do what they want you to do, or you're going to listen to what I got to say. No, I don't have
Right.
to listen to what you got to say. If I want to walk away so I can cool off or whatever,
Right.
you know what, but you're going to physically hold me back. You're going to
Hmm.
push and shove me into walls and stuff like that. That's an abusive person.
Right.
That's a good person when a person is doing that kind of thing. You
You're so
know.
right. That's something you have to be careful of. And a lot of times we don't look at that. We don't think about that.
Hmm.
Uh, we look at that as normal because in a lot of homes that's what they seen growing up, and they think it's
Right.
normal, and it's not. It's not a normal, nor is it a healthy relationship. So it's
Right.
important that we look and seek out what is a healthy relationship and try to build on that. A
Right.
lot of times people uh, get connected with people that did like things that they seen in their home growing up. And so it ended up repeating, going through generation after generation. And that's something
Hmm.
that we have to break. We have to do everything that we can to find out. If we don't understand why this is going on, get some help. Seek somebody that can legitimately help you to find out what a healthy relationship should be like, and try to seek that out. Sometimes we have to have the right type of mentor or somebody to guide you, to have that type of a relationship that we need, a healthy relationship. Yeah.
Right. Right. Well, like I said before, a lot of times, we have to sometimes go see a counselor,
Right.
even if you're not the abuser, but you're
Right.
the person who's being abused, to help you
Mhm.
to get out of that relationship. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes
Right.
we're not strong enough. We feel like that person loved me, or they say, I'm sorry, I love you, I'm not going to do it no more. Please don't leave
Hmm.
me, and all of
Right.
that stuff. And, you get that emotional, abuse because they, every time they do it, then they say, and they sorry, and then they hug, and then they
Right.
bringing you flowers, or they bringing you a
Don't they
gift,
do it?
or
Yeah.
they doing
Yeah.
something, to make you, feel sorry for them or pity for them. You know what I'm saying? Or I
Hmm.
can't, I really love you. I can't make it without you. No, you can make it without me.
Right.
So
Right.
we have to be able, to get out of that kind of relationship. And there's ways
Right.
of getting out. You just gotta, for one, you gotta decide to leave that kind of relationship, that abusive
Right.
relationship. That's the first thing you got to do to be able to get away from that person. You got to make up in your mind that I'm done. I'm better than this. I deserve better.
Right.
I don't deserve to be hit and hurt and abused and controlled, and I
Hmm.
can't spend time with my family and my friends. Nobody deserves to live that kind of life. That's
Right.
bondage. So you
Right.
have to first, you got to decide that I'm going to
Hmm.
get out of this relationship, especially if you have,
Right.
small children involved. You don't want your children growing up seeing that, because children,
Right.
most of the times, they're going to do what they see more than they're going to do
Right.
what you say. You know what I'm saying? They,
Right.
they
Right.
learn how to deal with other people in their life based on what they have seen growing up in their own household.
Exactly. Um, it's important that if you realize, come to the realization that you have this problem, you need to go seek out counseling, even if you have to go to a psychologist or something to help you to work through this situation. Because if you're like that, maybe, and you don't, and you like that, you don't want to be like that, but you can't change on your own. Sometimes you have to get help, somebody to
Mm-hmm.
help you walk through this type of situation in your life, to where you can change what is normal. Because sometimes people grow up and this is normal, but this is not normal. This is your normal. And just because it's the normal that you're used to doesn't mean it's the right pattern for a person's
Right.
healthy life, for a family's healthy life, for your children's life. Because we pass on these things to our children and to our children's children, and we end up recycling the same things that has happened year after year after year, generation after generation. And we can break the cycle by being willing to realize that you have an issue, you have a problem that needs to be worked through, and try to get resolution, get find out what the solution is. And that is seeking help. So many times it is that we need to seek the right help, and not be feel that okay, I'm not, don't feel like you're ashamed of getting help, because the worst thing you cannot do is get help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what do you think, Brother Robert?
Oh, absolutely. Let me read this, and I hope it in line with what you all say. It's about a narcissist. A narcissist doesn't break your heart; they break your spirit, and that's
Mm-hmm.
why it takes so long to get healed. I mean, before, and like Dr. Bruce and you said, sometimes we see it as a generation of abuse, and we think that's how it's supposed to be, one way or the other. But your spirit has to be stronger than that. You gotta want to break out and break the mold, and especially if you got children involved. And I'm quite sure all of you have shared with some people that's going through that. Um, some say, "Well, I'm staying in this relationship because of the children." If that relationship don't change, and we got to understand, you can't change people. You can't fix people. I know we've all tried. You know, people have tried to fix us, and for whatever, and you can't fix people. You just can't do that. You can't rescue people. They'll take you
Mm-hmm.
down under with them. They'll take you through with them. And like Dr. Bruce was saying, oh, yeah, I'm sorry and all that. You didn't beat me. You didn't rape me. You don't. I mean, how much more does it take for a person to realize this ain't working? This ain't
Mm-hmm.
good. I got to get out of this. But the problem
Right.
is, like you said, they don't know there's help available. And and then too, when you're in an abusive relationship and you constantly call the police, and every time the police come out, you say, I'm not going to press charges. They stop caring.
Mm-hmm.
They stop caring. You need, and they stop caring. People stop caring. And it's a
Right.
bad situation all the way around. But there is out there. It really is. You know, and all of what we're talking about tonight is just, wow,
Yeah.
bad.
I know I shared last week, as a teenager, I was in a domestically violent dating relationship with my boyfriend,
Right.
as a teenager. And we don't talk about that oftentimes, young people, when they're dating, they're in an abusive relationship. And because I was young, I mean, I don't just blame it on being young. You don't have to be young, but I was young, and I thought I was in love, and my boyfriend used to jump on me, and I couldn't talk to people, and you know what I'm saying, and it wasn't until I had enough strength to press charges on him, and allow him to be dealt with the court system. We went to court. They gave him like 3 days in jail, which, I mean, that wasn't that much, but when you're young, it was enough for me to know, okay, it's time for me to leave this person alone. You know what I'm saying? And so I did. I left him alone. But then some about a year or two later, after I had my son, and I started dealing with him again, and one day I went to sleep, and I woke up and he had a gun to my head, and so when that happened, I was like, you know what, I got to get away from here, so that's when I made a decision in my mind. I didn't tell him uh what I was planning to do, but I knew I need to get away from where I live to, so that I can be really free from this person. And so I ended up going in the military. And hey, I lied and say, yeah, we're gonna get married, whatever. I told him whatever I had to tell him, because but when I left and went in the military, I was like, nah, I'm done with him. I'm through. But I had to make up in my mind that
Right.
I was going to get out of that relationship, and that was my way out. And
Right.
and that's what anybody, you have to first decide to get out of an abusive relationship. The second thing you got to do is you got to constantly work on yourself to get out of
Right.
an abusive relationship. You got to encourage yourself. You got to love yourself. You got to know that you are worthy, of having another loving relationship. And you got to allow yourself to heal, from the abusive relationship that you were in.
Right.
And then sometimes you got to be prepared for the backlash that's going to come with you walking away. You know what I'm saying? You got to have the mental toughness, to get away from the abuse. And sometimes it's going to get
Right.
worse before it get better,
Right.
but you can walk away from an abusive relationship. And then you have to spend the time and the money and the effort on yourself, to get away from an abuser. You got to prepare yourself for your
Right.
future. You know what I'm saying? And if you have to go back to school, sometimes you've been married to somebody who's been abusive, your whole marriage, and he's been taking care of the bills and taking care of everything in the home, and you don't even know how
Hmm.
to really pay bills. You don't know how to, you know what I'm saying? But you got to start working on yourself to get
Right.
yourself out of this situation. Whether you
Hmm.
got to take some classes that he don't know about, some online classes to better yourself,
Exactly.
or whatever. You
Hmm.
got to prepare your mind to get out of the situation. And sometimes you gotta, like my mother-in-law say, don't let your left hand know what your right hand doing. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta move quietly, so that you can prepare for a better future. And the last thing you
Right.
gotta do is surround yourself with your tribe. You got to be around family and friends who's going to be there to support you. If you have to
Right.
move in the middle of the night, you got to know that you got somebody who's
Right.
going to pull
Right.
up the van
Right.
or whatever and get your clothes, or wait till he get in the car and go to
Hmm.
work and hurry up and get you some garbage bags. You got to do what you got to do, to get out of
Exactly.
that situation, because your life and your life of your children depend on it,
Hmm.
you making a
Right.
choice. So that's the thing. We can get out of it, but we got to decide that we're gonna get out of that kind of abusive relationship.
Yeah, because it could turn into a life and death situation, really. Because you
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
never
it can.
know. And then if they're a drinker too, because I've been in some situations with females that drink, and they're
Right.
okay when they sober, but when they get a little
Mm-hmm.
of that fuel oil in them, they get a little wild and get a little loose and wanna hit you and try to beat you like a man. So you have to
That's right.
decide, is that something you want to deal with, or is it not? So
That's right.
you have to you have to count the costs and everything to
Right.
do it. And so it's something, it might hurt to have to get away sometimes, but
Right.
the life you save could be your own sometime when
It'll
you
be
think
your
about
own.
this
That's
thing,
right.
especially in this age that we getting now, because everybody got a gun now, everybody carrying a gun. So it's no, it, people get mad at you. Those, and think about it. Those that get mad and they get a little out of control, you might want to start distancing yourself, because it could turn into a bad situation fast. And
That's
I
right.
don't want to be in that type of situation. That's why one of the things I've learned to do, I speak a whole lot less and listen a whole lot more. And when I hear things sound like they're going sour, I'm getting out of Dodge. It's time to go. Time to get away. I don't care what somebody say. I don't care what they think. I don't care if you call yourself my friend. But if you going down the wrong road, saying the wrong things, hey, it's time for me to get away from you, because I don't. My life is more valuable than just hanging around somebody. Especially, some people, they get out of, like I say, they get out of control. We know when our friends get out of control sometimes. We know what they
Right.
say. We know what they do. We know a lot of times. We know whether they're abusive in their household, but we don't want to say nothing. That's one of the things that goes on. We don't want to take the mask off and
Right.
come to the realization that these things need to be addressed because our family members can get help, our friends can get help, but we a lot of times we're not willing to even say anything. And just say, hey, bro, pull them to the side, and just talk to them about it. Sometimes, yeah, will they get mad? Sometimes they will, but
Mhm.
if you don't say nothing, you can't even put a bug in a person's ear to even make them realize that, dude, you might need to get a little help because it can go sour very quick, and especially
Right.
if it's alcohol involved. Whew, alcohol or drugs, it can get very bad very quick.
Right. Yeah. I just want to touch on a couple of myths about domestic violence. Five myths of domestic violence. Um,
Hmm.
it won't happen in Christian homes. That's a myth. It happen a
Yeah,
lot in Christian homes.
yeah, yeah.
Submission will solve the problem. Like I touched on last week, it's not an issue of submission. It's an issue
Right.
of violence and control.
Hmm.
It's the woman's fault. No, it's not always the woman's fault. And it's not always the man's fault either. You have to take control over your own actions. Um, domestic abuse isn't as bad as domestic violence. Domestic abuse is like what we're talking about, like the verbal abuse, the emotional abuse, that. But then, domestic violence is when you get physical. Both of them are
Right.
equally just as bad as the other, because with
Exactly.
somebody telling you, you stupid, don't nobody want you, and putting a person down and what you believe, who believes that? That's dumb. That when you hear a person continually, abusing you, emotionally and verbally, that can be just as bad on your psyche, sometimes
Right.
worse, because they got control of your mind,
Right.
as physical abuse. And then if an abuser is truly sorry and forgiven, the relationship should be reconciled. No, just like we were saying earlier, sometimes they come and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I won't gonna do it no more." You might be sorry, but I'm done with you. I'm out.
Right.
Like I don't have to reconcile with you when you done busted my lips and blackened my eyes and broke my arm and no, I'm
Right.
out. I don't gotta reconcile with you. I can forgive you, but I don't gotta be in no relationship with you. So those are some of the myths about domestic violence, and like I said, the number one is that it don't happen in Christian homes. It happen in Christian homes all the time. People be
Right.
sitting in church on Sunday and they go home and their husband or their wives abuse them, and
Right.
people in the church don't even know that they going through that. Sometimes the pastor's wife is dealing with domestic violence.
Right.
The pastor can be in the pulpit preaching and go home and abuse his wife.
Yeah.
So just like we talked about last week, the pastor, in Orlando who jumped on his wife. Her brother was there, but ultimately
Mhm.
he ended up going to her job at the Naval Credit Union and shot and killed her.
Right.
So we got to get ourselves out of these relationships when we dealing with people who is violent. A lot of times we got violent kids, adult children,
Yeah. Right.
in the house. That's domestic violence too. You got a son
Right.
or a daughter who's screaming and hollering and cussing at you and disturbing your peace. You know, you got to go.
Right.
So sometimes we don't think about that. We got to
Right.
Yeah, you gotta go.
remove ourselves. Huh? Yeah, they got to go. We got to
Yeah,
remove
yeah,
ourselves
Right.
from
you
them
gotta
kind
go.
of
You gotta
relationships
go.
too. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So I know me at my age, I don't feel like dealing with all of that foolishness. You
No.
know. So
Yeah, we have to realize, it's something that you don't hear talked about in the church. Hate to say it, but it's true. Uh, you don't hear it talked about in the church. These type
mm-hmm.
of discussions, we can talk about everything else, but we don't talk about these type of situations, how to deal with what we a lot of times we just want to say, well, you just need to pray. Well, you getting beat black and blue, you can't just pray. You got to make. Sometimes you got to make a move. You end up dead
Right.
talking about, you know, I believe in prayer and I believe in all that, but when you getting beat and when you going through all that, you got to make a move because
Yes.
uh, you could be down praying and get beat half to death, and um, that's just don't make no sense.
Dr. Bruce,
It, yes, sir.
can I say something? Of
If you open your mouth.
course, I, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I've shared this with you. My priorities in life, even in ministry, I'm a husband first. Okay. I'm a husband first. I'm a father second, a grandfather third. And at the time when I was working at my former employer, because that's where my paycheck was coming from, then after that, I'm a minister. And then after that, whatever you want to do. But my priority first is my wife. I mean, other than God, I'm just saying, I'm a
Right.
husband first. I love my wife more than I do any position anywhere. Because I view life like this. This is the last person I see when I close my eyes and go to sleep. And this is probably going to be the first person I see when I wake up. So I need me and her both want to go to bed in peace, wake up
Mm-hmm.
in peace. You know, the things in life, and you know, Dr. Bruce and I thought you never have no more bills than you say okay to. So ain't no sense in crying about that when we say, hey, we want this type of house or we want that car. You know what the payments were, and life changes, and sometimes you do lose things. We've been there, and you move on. Sometimes bad decisions are made by one or two partners or both at the same, and you learn and you move on.
Right.
But I don't, you know, my first ministry, once again, and I want to say this to preachers and pastors, when
Mm-hmm.
you love the church, when you then you do your wife and your family, your priorities are wrong. Your priorities are wrong. I heard one pastor say at the leaders conference, Jesus already died for the church. Don't you die for the church. Because these members are going to have a life after they done buried you 6 feet under and put your wife and
Mm-hmm.
family out the church. They're still gonna have a life. And I pray for pastors, and I was had the privilege of being part of the Christian Theological Seminary discussions today. I believe emanating out of Chicago, um, and just listening to what they were saying, same issues we're talking about now, about pastors and things that are stressed out and leaders and how they're, you know, just taking it out on their families. And so, you know, priority one for me is my wife, my family. And then after that,
Mm-hmm.
I can help you with your, hopefully your situation. But I got to take care of
Right.
home first. Because if I was pastoring the church today and they voted me out, or within our denomination, the bishop said, I don't want Pastor Miley there no more. We're going to put Pastor Orange Pants down there. I got to come home to my
Right.
wife and my family.
Right.
And it's bad when you come home and people don't know who you are. The dog don't even know you because you weren't
Right.
there for the family. And we got to
Right.
learn you can't be the one man show. You got to train others to assist you so you can live longer and enjoy the fruits of your labor. But if you're abusive like that, you need help. You really do.
Right.
And we're
Yes.
saying this not to condemn, but we love you. We're in the ministry also. We understand the weight of ministry, the responsibilities, and all of that. The projection that's out there. That a lot of times we feel like, you know, if I let my hair down, I'll lose credibility, I'll lose respect. No, I don't do a lot of church pictures because that don't always show me life. But when I see you and your wife sitting in the park on a bench, that I'm like, I ain't never been down to that park and that bench. I need to go down there. But I just think we need to we need to live and not
Right.
just function. Elvis Presley was asked this one time. He was on a 300 some odd day tour. What is the hardest thing you've ever had to do? I'm talking about Elvis Presley, the rock and roll singer, the movie star. And he said the hardest thing was live up to an image. And I learned from there that we all live up to an image. And when that image is destroyed, then where is the real me? You know? So my priority is in life, my wife comes first. Okay.
Right.
My family after that, my grandchildren and friends and associates. And I'm a minister after that. I'm a servant. Here to serve the best I can. If that means buying lunch for you, if I can do that, I'm gonna do that. If I can encourage you, I'm gonna do that. I'll pray with you. I'll do that. But I have limitations. And even as a minister, our families, our children, we were preachers' kids, and so we know. So we know. But I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yes.
Yeah, it's this is a heavy topic. It's something you could really go on and on about. Um, it's one that, when I think about it, you really do have to take the mask off. You have to be willing to uh, look at yourself. Uh, you know, we say that couldn't happen to me, but all we got to do is look at our past, look at
Yeah,
what we
yeah.
have done in our own homes, look at
Right.
the
Yeah.
the areas that we need to improve on, and ask yourself, do I ever get out of control? Do I ever touch my wife, touch my husband? Do I ever holler and scream? Do I ever punch the walls? Do I ever threaten to do harm? These are the things we need to look at, and these are the things we need to address. And it's something that kind of topics that I wish would be discussed in the church sometime. But whether it's Bible study or whatever, I ain't saying you got to do that on Sunday morning. But these kind of topics people need to hear about. And sometimes we say the church need to lead, be our guide for life, but we don't hear these type topics in the church. So it's something that we need to look at, and maybe even talk to our leaders and say, hey, ask the question. And then because that's all you can do is ask the question and see where it go. If it don't go nowhere, you've done what you can do. Uh, but if it does, then people can be helped, because to go and have in our mindset that it doesn't happen is totally wrong, totally erroneous. It's just, it happens, and it happens a lot more often than we are willing to admit. And we need to do what's necessary to get the help we need. So we're going to get ready to close this out. I'm going to ask Robert first because he don't say that much no more. Uh, if you got any final final comments, and then we're gonna go to you, Phyllis, and then I'll close it out.
I hope and pray that
Hmm.
the scripture says the word fitly spoken in season is like silver apples in a gold bowl. And I hope that these few moments that we have are so relevant and so meaningful and significant that it will help someone say, I need more of this so we
Hmm.
can share more. And we want those that may be listening to us. You're not alone. That's why we're talking now.
Right.
Like Dr. Bruce said, you don't hear this talked about in church very much or to none. Well, we want to talk because we're tired of seeing our families destroyed. We're tired of seeing our churches destroyed. We're tired of seeing our communities destroyed because of lack of good, strong families. And when we get down to the church, that's what the church is, a strong connection of families. And
Mhm.
when we don't have that, we don't have a strong church. And until our leaders recognize that, you just preaching and your words ain't going nowhere. Because if your church is not going through families, through the young people, okay, your old people would be dead before you know it, and you might be there by yourself if you outlive them. And won't nobody be there but you and the dog. So I'm out of here.
All right, this Billy, this Billy.
Well, I just want to say to any person that is listening to us, whether you're listening now live or later, if you are experiencing domestic violence, verbal abuse, whether you're a woman, a man, a teenage girl, a teenage boy, whether you in truth be told a man and man relationship, a woman and woman relationship, because that's the truth we deal with these days. And you being abused, nobody deserves to be abused, nobody deserves to be controlled, nobody deserves to be threatened, nobody deserves to feel intimidated and manipulated, and doing things that's against your will. If you are a person that is experiencing domestic violence or domestic abuse, um, and you're afraid and you don't know how to get out and you just need to talk to someone, please call the domestic abuse hotline. That number is 800-799-SAFE. Again, that number is 800-799-SAFE, and that's 7233. We are not experienced, to tell anyone what they should or should not do, but we do want you to be safe. We want you to call someone that can help you and that can guide you in the right direction. And we're just praying that God will bless you to get out of that situation. Make a decision to leave, to run for your life so that you can have a better life. You deserve better. You deserve to be loved and to be cherished. And, so I'm just praying that you would make a decision to get out of that abusive relationship. It could be, you can have an abusive son or daughter in your home abusing you. It's still domestic violence,
Right.
so make a decision to remove yourself or have that person removed from your home. So that's all I want to say this evening.
We want to thank you all for being part of this uh, show. Uh, I like to see this show do some of the hard, what I call hard topics that we don't like to talk about, that people don't want to hear, that you don't hear. Uh, Sometimes in the church, you don't hear them. I ain't heard nothing about no domestic violence, how to get help, no hotlines, no nothing in the church. Uh, and sometimes I think if uh, this type thing was discussed, we could get people help. Relationships could be saved, lives could be changed. Uh, but since we're not hearing a lot of these topics, whether it's in Texas, whether it's in Arkansas, whether it's in Missouri, whether it's in uh, Tennessee, we're not hearing this amongst those that we would look at as our leaders. Uh, so people like us have to bring light to it. You want to see relationships saved. If you want to save your relationship, get help. Uh, Go to a counselor, go to a psychologist, go to a psychiatrist if necessary. But don't look at it. I don't look at it. Look at things as everything is lost. But if you're willing to get help, but if you're not willing to get help, you might lose everything. Your relationship, your children, everything. And it's just something that can be turned around. It's not too late, but you got to be willing, and that means each and every one of us. If we got this kind of thing going on, let's do what we need to do. What's necessary to turn the situation around before it's too late, or before somebody get hurt, before somebody get killed, before somebody get a broken arm, a leg, so somebody get hit by a car. I can remember relationship, yeah, way back when I was in my 20s, getting about getting ran down by a car. You know, by a lady that I was kind of with tried to run me down with the car. So it's like, and I was married at the time, and she tried to run me down, get drunk, got that fuel oil in there, and tried to run me down. So it's one of those things you have to think about. Get the help. That's all I can say. So we're gonna get ready to tune out, and we thank you, and come back on next week to the producer show, and we'll be on Thursdays, every Thursday at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, Ms. Knight, and thank you, Mr. Mileage, for tuning in. And you all have a wonderful day, and God bless you.